Good morning. Okay, so today we are looking at the topic of I can do all things, and that is from Philippians 4, and it is verse number 13. And when I was asking God, cool, what should I talk? What should I talk about? What should I talk about? This verse came to mind. And like as a student, it's a verse that I've used a lot. I hear people quote it all the time. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I myself have been not guilty, but like I've been guilty of like using this verse as like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna be motivated by it. Like, God, this is yours. And then I was kind of wondering how like, okay, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, but how does he strengthen me? And God was like, you need to read this verse in context. So I'm just going to read from verse 4 to 13, and then we're going to break down the things that God tells us we have to do to make this verse a reality. So verse 4 says, always be full of joy in the Lord. I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you are considerate in all that you do. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and your minds as you live in Christ Jesus. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable, right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise, and keep putting into practice all that you learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be with you. How I praise the Lord that you are concerned about me again. I know that you have always been concerned for me, but you didn't have the chance to help me. Not that I was ever in need for it, for I learned how to be content with whatever I had. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learnt the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little, for I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So, I think there are 5 things. Yeah, there are 5 things that I read that we need to do to make verse 13 our reality. And the first thing was to rejoice in the Lord. Always be full of joy. And obviously, when you're looking at the definition of joy, joy is a deep-seated pleasure. And God tells us that if you want to be able to do all things through him, your source of joy has to be in him. It has to be in something that is unshakable, something that doesn't change with seasons. Though your circumstances will change, God never will. And if you find that your happiness and your pleasure and your delight comes in something that doesn't move, every situation that you're going to find yourself facing no longer becomes overwhelming, no longer seems big, no longer seems as scary or as draining, because you already have the greatest source of anything as where your joy is coming from. So if you want to turn around and tell yourself, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, number 1 is to make sure that he is your source of joy, to make sure that he's the one who makes your heart delight, that spending time in his presence, your secret place, is literally like where you find the most joy. Where doing his works is where you find the most joy. And as a result, if he's your source, regardless of what's going on around you, you are going to be good. You understand that joy is a choice. You understand that it's a gift that's given, but like it's given by him. I always think to myself, happiness is dependent on circumstance. Happiness even comes from the word happenstance, like whatever happens to be going on around me, that's what happiness is dependent on. Some people wake up and say, yeah, today I'm feeling really happy. And some days you're like, nope, I'm not feeling it. But joyful, to be joyful, to have a deep-seated pleasure or a deep-seated happiness, a seed has to be buried. And when it starts to grow, it's rooted in the ground. And that's what God's saying that we need to have in him. Not a temporary, some seasons I'm in and some seasons I'm not. And sometimes it feels like God is great. And no. Like that joy needs to be rooted in who he is. And decide that even in the toughest seasons, even in the tests that God's going to send my way, or he's going to allow to come my way, joy can be found in those circumstances. That's why I know that there are various Bible verses that tell us, take pleasure from your testing. God says in every circumstance, even when you're being tested, pleasure and joy and all the rest of it can be accumulated. And then the second thing comes from verse number 5. Let everyone see that you are considerate in all that you do, and remember the Lord is coming. Good morning, Pastor Pam. So, the second thing to do, so if you want to turn around and be able to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, number 2 is to be considerate. And when you look up the definition of considerate, sorry, let me get my page up. When you look up the definition of considerate, it is to be kind. Let me read it. To be kind and thoughtful, to be accommodating, to be of good nature. Literally, considerate means to care about other people. So God has said, cool, now that your joy is rooted in me, now that you're focused on me, I want you to turn your eyes to my people. I want the way you treat other people to be a reflection of the joy that is being sourced in me. So if you want to turn around and say, I want to be able to do all things through Christ, you need to care about the same thing that Christ cares about. And Christ literally came down and said, I am dying on behalf of people. I am dying on behalf of you. I'm dying on behalf of your sisters, your brothers, your aunties, your uncles. God cares about his people. So making God's number one priority, your number one priority, is one where you can turn around and say, I can face every situation. There are certain times that I found myself saying, Lord, I know I have all this stuff to do, but I also know that you've asked me to help with this person, or you've asked me to do this. Now, if your word says to seek first the kingdom and then all other things will be added to me, I trust that as I'm seeking you and as I'm doing what you've asked me to do, as I'm being obedient to the things that you've called me to do, you will sort everything else out. Sometimes I don't have to lay certain things down in prayer. I don't have to find myself on my knees weeping and all the rest of it, because I trust that as I'm focused on what God's asking me to do, as my eyes are on him, he's focused on my business. So that is number 2. And then verses 6 to 7 say, do not worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything and tell God what you need and thank him for all that he has done. Other versions talk about saying, taking your petitions with thanksgiving. And verse 6 is, actually, I think there's like 3 things. The first thing being, do not worry about anything. And I know sometimes we can be sat down and situations can seem overwhelming, and it kind of seems, sometimes I find it silly. You know, when you're freaking out about something, and then someone tells you, yeah, just don't worry. And you're like, okay, thank you so much for your sound advice. How does one not worry? But it is literally a command that we're given so many places in the Bible, either by God telling us not to worry, or by God telling us that we should be strong, or we should be courageous, or we should focus on him. Whatever way he phrases it, the point is that worry is not supposed to be something that you do. Now, if your joy has been rooted in God, and if you've been looking after his people, you have a firm understanding that he's got you. If in helping, and that's another thing, in helping other people, in allowing yourself to be used as a vessel for God, you begin to understand how he maneuvers. And so you begin to trust that, oh God, the same way you've moved me to help other people, I know that you even moved other people to come and help me in that same way. And it gives you more things for your faith to be rooted in. It gives you more, evidence for you to trust and believe that God is working on your behalf. So when you begin to understand God's nature, when you begin to understand his character, worry no longer becomes an option, because it's like, for me, I know that, I don't know, I'm trying to find an example. When I was if I was at school, here we go, it's like my little brother. So my little brother was being bullied at school once. Sorry for saying your business, Enoch. My little brother was being bullied at school for once, and he came home and he told my mum, and my mum was like, don't worry about it. Now, she went into school and behind the scenes started talking to teachers, started to make sure this is this is not allowed to happen. This actually just needs to stop. And the bullying stopped. But he knew, cool, I've laid it at my mum's feet. I've told her. And that's all he did. He came, he told her. She said, don't worry. And he moved on his way. And she did the rest. And I think we need to start having that same trust that once we've brought something to God, and he knew that he didn't have to worry because he knew my mum's character. Up until that point, he's been able to trust her. He's been able to rely on her. He knows that when I bring her something, it gets dealt with. He's seen the way she's acted with other people and he's seen her get it done. So when it came to worrying, he spent less time freaking out about it and more time saying, cool, I mean, I'd rather just give this to you and carry on with what I need to do. So that's how we're supposed to be as Christians. We're supposed to have that childlike trust that regardless of what you've seen happen in the world, it's still that same just awe that you come with God and you say, Lord, I've said it to you, and now I'm just going to naively believe. I'm just going to literally release it and say that you've got this. So do not worry is the first thing. And it sounds like such a silly instruction, but it is as simple as choosing when the thought comes up, saying, no, I'm going to break it down with something else. If it is someone who's saying something against you, you find different Bible verses and you find different scripture to battle each kind of thought that's going to come your way. Some people hold on to the fact that no weapon formed against them shall prosper in whatever form it comes in, whether it's going to be a spiritual attack, whether it's going to be words that people say, whether it's going to be physical things that people want to do. And that's what they use when negative situations come their way. As for me, I always tell myself, God is within her, she will not fall. As a result, when situations arise where it looks like, oh, I should worry, where situations arise where it looks like, oh, I'm actually not going to make it out of this, I know what God has said. I know the promise I'm holding on to. And as a result, worry just doesn't become an option. And then the second thing is, instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and then thank him for all he has done. I appreciated the fact that it says literally just tell God. It doesn't say beg him for anything. It doesn't say you have to spend hours in tears, like trying to let him know. It's literally just tell him and then trust that once you've said it, he's got it. God isn't hard of hearing. It's not that he, literally the Israelites cried out, he heard, and Moses was being sent. So you need to trust that once I've petitioned you, once I've said it to you, it's done. And I love the fact that it also says, thank him for all that he has done. And I know that Pastor Nancy has spoken on this, and actually loads of people have spoken about the necessity for gratitude. At the heart of it all, petitions of thanksgiving. Even sometimes when you're praying or asking for anything, instead of asking, literally saying thank you in advance. Like, God, I know that you've seen my heart. I know that you've seen this situation. I know that even what I'm asking for is in accordance with your word. If I'm asking for protection, you've already told me even one of your names is the fact that you're a protector. So let me just stand here and let me thank you in advance for the fact that you've protected me over this situation. Let me thank you for the fact that I know that you're a God of provision, that you've provided for this season. Let me come to you with thanksgiving rather than with complaining. Even you as a person, think to yourself, what kind of people do you like to have around you? Do you like to have people who literally spend all their time complaining, spend all their time whining and speaking in a negative way? You tend to find that when those kind of people are around you, it can be draining. But if you get around someone who's positive, even if it can be annoyingly optimistic sometimes, a negative thing arises and they're like, well, yeah, this is another challenge. Yes, I can see strength of character coming. Those people, you enjoy hearing what it is that they have to say more. Even if they could be coming with the same scenario, one person could come up and tell you, oh my goodness, there's no food in the house again. I don't know how I'm going to get money for this food. How am I going to feed the kids? And someone could turn around and be like, you know what? We've got a bit of a challenge. There's currently no food. But I just thank God that there's an opportunity for me to learn and see and find another way to get it. There's an opportunity for me to come and see this challenge and grow from this challenge. I have to find a new way to get food. Those two things were exactly the same way. They said exactly the same thing, but they were said in a different way. And if you come to God with thanksgiving, with petitions, you want, I guess, to let him know that you have a trust and understanding that he's already got you, and to also speak to yourself. Everything that we say speaks to our spirit. Everything that we we put out there, if we know that there's life and death in the tongue, if we speak negatively, we speak that into our environment, we speak that into our surroundings, we speak that to ourselves. But if you find yourself speaking in a positive tone, if you find yourself speaking and looking at things from a positive perspective, you'll see that it becomes easier to believe that you can do all things through Christ. Because I'm speaking life into situations, because I'm trusting in who God said he is. And then the next thing was verses 8 to 9, which say, "And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable, right, pure, lovely, and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise." So this literally just goes back to the idea again of what is your mind focused on. Literally, the mind is what it's all about. In every thing that you hear, I think someone always goes back to what's in your mind, what are your thoughts settling on. And God tells you that if you want to believe that you can do all things through me, if you want to be able to do all things through me, I need you to fix what your mind is focused on. I need you to correct your environment. I need you to think about when it says all things that are true, he is truth. All things that are honorable, he is honorable. That are right, pure, lovely, and admirable. And things that he produces, so you can look at the fruits that come from people who are walking in him, the fruits that come from, well, not fruits, like the branches that come of who God is, his people, his love, and making sure that if all those things are your focus, if literally everything that is sourced in God is your focus, if that is what your mind is completely full of, and I don't mean, oh yeah, sometimes, I mean literally completely full of the light. Where light is, darkness has no place, and as a result, it does become possible for you to do all things. If you turned around right now and spoke to a kid and all you ever said to them was positivity, you told that kid, you are amazing and you're going to be great and all the rest of it, you would be able to forget external environment. I mean, literally just spoke to that kid and filled their mind with thoughts of they are worth it and they can do anything. You'll find that there's a difference to how the confidence that they walk with. There's a difference to how they approach life. There's a difference to how they approach situations in comparison to a kid who has nothing but negativity spoken into them, nothing but darkness spoken over them. So God tells us to do that because whatever you fix your thoughts on will now affect and determine how you look at things. It will determine how you stand, how you walk into situations, what it is that you believe that you can achieve. So it's not just about you saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's about you having an understanding of who is Christ who strengthens you. He is the truth. He is the good things. He is the light. He is just. He is powerful. And when you have an understanding of who Christ is, when your mind is focused on all those things, when you're overwhelmed with that knowledge, then all of a sudden you understand why you could do all things. And regardless of what lies come your way, regardless of how situations and circumstances are looking, you can still tackle them. And then number 5, number 5 was to learn to be content. So Paul talks about the fact that regardless of whether he has a lot or he has a little, he is content with what he has. And I think it comes from understanding that even when you have a little, because of the God that you serve, you can have a lot the next day like that if he's your focus and he opens the door for you. To be content, to be full, to understand that your fullness comes from him. There's nothing I'm searching for. There's nothing I need from the outside world. All I need is him, and as a result, if I have the right thing, everything else becomes easy for me. I remember someone talking about how it's better for you to be the person who holds the door and the instructions to help people get to the top, rather than to be the person at the top. Because if you're the person who's opening the door and has the instructions for how other people get there, it means you have the instructions for yourself as well. But it also means that as you help other people, when they get to the top, you have people at the top who remember you and will pull you up. When you have a contentment and understanding that what I have is enough, you understand that the environment I'm creating for myself, the seed that I have will be enough to pull me to the top. I don't know if that made sense, the way it made sense in my head. But, oh Jesus, I'm going over. Okay, so sorry, I've gone over. My last thing was putting into practice. So not just knowing it as head knowledge, but literally putting it into practice. And it says I don't know which verse it is, but just everything that we've said they're active words. They're not just, oh, know them and believe them. It is literally, you have to walk out your faith. You have to walk these things out. I'm going to end there. But I just wanted you to know that if you're going to go around believing like, cool, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, there's a need for you to understand that for every statement I think God makes, that he gives us a way to make that statement a reality. So if you read things there's such an importance in reading verses in context. And I'm going to end us in prayer. So Father God, I just wanted to turn around and I want to thank you for today. I want to thank you for the fact that we literally can do all things through God, Christ who strengthens us. That Father God, I pray that you would become the source of our joy. I pray that you would be the thing that overwhelms our thoughts and our minds. I pray that you would give us the ability to serve you and to serve your people. Give us a heart for your people. Give us generous hearts. Give us kind hearts. Give us considerate hearts, Father. I thank you for the fact that you tell us that the Prince of Peace will come and visit us as we carry out these things. That you will fill us with a peace that's beyond understanding, Father God. And as a result, when we're overwhelmed with that peace, there's no situation and no storm that can come up that makes us feel like we can't tackle anything, that makes us feel that we can't achieve anything. I pray that you would continue to make these things a reality in our life, that they would be at the foundation of who we are, that you would be at the foundation of who we are. And as a result, we would go into environments and we would go into situations and we would show people what it means to walk with you, honestly and truly. Father, we thank you in advance for making this a reality in our situations. In your mighty name, we have prayed. Have the most amazing day, women of virtue, and we shall see you tomorrow morning.